2010, local law enforcement has misplaced 28 firearms. Pima County Sheriff's Department is responsible for losing 18 guns, 6 of which were stolen from department or personal vehicles, and 2 were swiped directly from the lawmen's homes. Tucson Police Department is responsible for losing 10 guns. Now, when I lose my wallet, I know I can minimize the damage by calling the bank to deactivate my credit cards. But there are no such safeguards on guns. 10 of these 28 missing guns have been recovered, including 3 PD guns that were found in restrooms of city buildings. That's a shitty place to leave something so dangerous.
Tucsonans are again taking to the streets to protest President-elect Donald Trump. Tonight's protest, organized by the University of Arizona student group We Are the Real USA, is currently underway at the UA Mall. This protest comes just 2 days after nearly 300 anti-Trump protesters marched from the Armory Park Center on 5th Street to the U.S. Courthouse on Congress Street. Similar Not My President rallies have been occurring across the country in the week since the controversial reality star won the election. So far, only one citizen-organized pro-Trump rally has been announced. This event is scheduled for December 3rd in Pelham, North Carolina. The Victory Cavalcade Klan Parade has been hosted by the local Ku Klux Klan chapter, the Loyal White Knights.
If you're unsure of what to write on your sign at the anti-Trump rally tonight, "Where's our money" would be a fitting choice. Trump still owes the city of Tucson $81,837 for event security for a rally held at the Tucson Convention Center in March of this year. The city informed Trump of the outstanding debt in a letter sent in September. Over a month later, Trump's lawyer, Donald McGahn, responded to the city of Tucson, informing them the Trump campaign did not request Tucson police to provide public safety at the event. This is a standard move in the Donald Trump playbook, as a major investigation by USA Today found Trump and his various businesses have been sued 3,600 times for unpaid bills or workers' pay in the past decade alone. Bernie Sanders also owes the city $44,000 for similar security costs. But Sanders supporters hold out hope that Debbie Wasserman Schultz will just transfer the debt to the Clinton campaign.
A Tucson pastor is facing a criminal trespassing charge following a Dakota Access Pipeline protest. Reverend Allison Harrington of Southside Presbyterian Church was arrested on the lawn of the North Dakota governor's mansion as a part of a protest against the controversial oil pipeline which will run through Native American lands. The protest involved 4 other clergy members who expected to be arrested but were hoping to have a sensible talk with the governor. Harrington is among 500 clergy members who answered a call for solidarity by a North Dakota priest earlier this month. The priest's call came after a riot gear-clad officers turned peaceful protests violent earlier this month. Harrington is known locally for her social justice work with undocumented migrants.
And there was quite the pollinator party downtown last Thursday. Desert Museum and Tucson Electric Power staff and volunteers celebrated the completion of a 4,000 square foot mural. The mural highlights our favorite pollinators and their importance in the Sonoran Desert region. Want to see it? The mural's located off the I-10 frontage road near the River Park Inn. If you'd like to volunteer with future community projects like this, visit www.desertmuseum.org/volunteer.
Now in national and international news.
The Orange Creamsicle in Chief appeared on 60 Minutes Sunday to address his first 100-day agenda. And Trump said that his first goal is to deport 2 to 3 million immigrants, all of which he says are criminals, drug dealers, and gang members. He seemed unaware that the U.S. already has a system to imprison criminals, drug dealers, and gang members. It's referred to as the justice system. It's also difficult to believe that there are 2 to 3 million loose criminals in a country of 242 million adults. The number's likely inflated because people are considered criminals because they're living here illegally. A much more nuanced issue than our very unnuanced president-elect will likely ignore. Trump then said that he seeks to deport all 11 million illegal immigrants living in the country, but that he would deport families in a more humane way. This presumably means that the departed will be given a Make America Great Again hat, a copy of The Art of the Deal, and a lump of leftover Trump steak. The interview then moved on to the border wall, which is like Trump's Guernica. He says that no one is more qualified to build the wall, which he insists will be built from concrete and steel, easing concerns that the wall would be made of paper mache, duct tape, and toupee glue. The humble president-to-be said the quote, "I'm very good at this. It's called construction." Trump then told interviewers a few other words he's learned recently, such as agriculture, diplomacy, and humbleness, before expressing marvel at recently learning where babies come from.
And the president-elect has announced the first of his cabinet appointments, sticking close to the Republican Party and disappointing some of his supporters. Trump named Reince Priebus as chief of staff and Steve Bannon, former head of Breitbart, as his chief strategist. Reince Priebus, not to be confused with Prince Rebus, commander of the 13th Galactic Confederacy, was the former chairman of the GOP and joined Trump on stage during his acceptance speech. Some Trump supporters have cried foul for his decision to pick up such a high-profile individual within the Washington circle of Republicans. This contradicts Trump's promise to surround himself with Washington outsiders, with the decision looking more like business as usual. Trump's outsider message has manifested in the phrase "drain the swamp," which has been trending on Twitter for the past 2 weeks. The phrase implies that Washington politics are the swamp and Trump was chosen to clean it up. Coincidentally, "drain the swamp" is also the phrase used by Trump when he is to change Chris Christie's diaper. Supporters were pleased with the choice of Bannon, who is seen as being one of the most influential voices in alt-right universe with the Breitbart website. In other words, he's the Goebbels in the story. Bannon has been accused of anti-Semitic views and was once charged with domestic violence back in 1996 by his former wife in a case that was later dismissed. Trump supporters were heartened to hear these bona fides and looking forward to hearing versions of "Born in the USA" sung at open mics throughout the country.
And WWE Hall of Famer and President-elect Donald Trump may have a spot in his cabinet for his old friend Linda McMahon. Linda McMahon, the former CEO of World Wrestling Entertainment and current wife of WWE owner Vince McMahon, is rumored to be in the running for a spot in Trump's Commerce Department. Trump's association with the McMahons dates back to 1988, when Trump's Atlantic City Plaza hosted WWE's WrestleMania 4 and the following year's WrestleMania 5. Both events featured gratuitous shots of Donald Trump in the audience. Trump has been featured on WWE's programming sporadically since, culminating in a storyline that saw Donald Trump shave Vince McMahon's head bald at WrestleMania 23. And in 2013, Trump was actually inducted into the celebrity wing of the company's Hall of Fame. Linda McMahon's political experience includes 2 unsuccessful Senate runs in Connecticut, and I guess that's it. It's a mystery to many why Trump would consider Linda McMahon for the position. Maybe it's the fact that she referred to Trump as a loyal friend. Maybe it's the fact that both she and Trump have been on the receiving end of a stone-cold stunner. But maybe it's the fact that the McMahons donated a reported $6 million to Trump's campaign. Really, who knows? Some aspects of professional wrestling were never meant to be understood.
With Trump at the helm of the great American battlecruiser, many states are crying "abandon ship." On election night, the CalExit hashtag spread across California Twitter users' timeline like wildfire. And now, the movement has expanded beyond Twitter. Political group Yes California has plans to put a citizens' initiative to free the Golden State from the Union in 2018. If that vote passes, Californians will have the opportunity to cut ties entirely in a special spring 2019 election. An independent California would boast the 6th largest economy in the world and a population larger than Poland. And California's neighbor to the north has an escape plan of their own. Portland lawyer Jennifer Rollins and writer Christine Trelball filed the Oregon Succession Act on Thursday. The act calls for the governor and legislature to actively pursue Oregon's peaceful succession from the United States of America, either alone or with the states and Canadian provinces. Rollins and Trelball have since withdrawn their position after receiving a number of threats, But the dream of Northwest independence doesn't die there. Political groups Yes Cascada and Cascadia have now long championed the concept of an independent country focused on protecting the ideals of environmental sustainability, civil liberties, and personal freedom. If the states of Oregon and Washington combined with the province of British Columbia to form the proposed Republic of Cascadia, the combined land area would make it the 20th largest country in the world. The Cascadian economy could potentially generate more than $675 billion worth of goods and services annually. While there is undoubtedly a deep ideological divide between the West Coast and the rest of the country, the road to succession may be a difficult one. The Constitution addresses the formation of new states either through acquired territory or division of existing states, but does not mention succession. The Supreme Court set precedent on the matter in 1969 with Texas v. White. The ruling claims states are not allowed to secede from the rest of the U.S. without consent of the remaining states. While this may go over easily with the "if you don't like it, you can get out" credo of many Republican voters, the rest of the country may find it a little more difficult to say goodbye to such a large segment of the economy.
Chelsea Manning, who found herself in the center of the WikiLeaks saga, has officially requested clemency from President Obama. Manning confessed to leaking diplomatic and military documents to WikiLeaks in 2010 and has been in prison longer than any leaker of information in history. She requested that the president lessen her 35-year sentence and take into account the 6 years she's already served. Manning added that she is not seeking a pardon, but rather an easing of jail time. The petition included a letter of support from Daniel Ellsberg, who wrote the Pentagon Papers, which revealed the secret history of the Vietnam War, as well as Glenn Greenwald, who worked with Edward Snowden and has been a strong defender of the leaks. Chelsea was known as Bradley Manning when she released the documents, which showed possible war crimes being committed in the battlefields of Iraq. The country is split on whether Manning is a traitor or a whistleblowing hero. The election of Donald Trump could prove to be a boon for Manning. Trump supporters unexpectedly hailed Julian Assange and WikiLeaks as truth-telling heroes after the leaks of the Podesta emails. But more likely, Republicans will go back to shaming the organization because they suckled all they could from the WikiLeaks teat. I wouldn't start packing just yet, Chelsea.
After the first attempt at a peace deal died a little over a month ago, Colombia is trying again to mend the conflict between the government and armed FARC revolutionaries. The 52-year-old conflict was almost ended in October until it was voted down by Colombian voters. The war has been responsible for over 200,000 deaths and millions of people have been displaced. As part of the New Deal, FARC members who confess to war crimes will serve 8 years in prison and will perform community service. President Juan Manuel Santos has not revealed if the New Deal will again be presented to voters as a referendum.
Fighting has resumed in Myanmar between government troops and members of the Muslim Rohingya minority. For years, the country has battled the Rohingya, who claim that they are discriminated against by the government, and recently was run by a military junta. Elections last year brought peace activist Aung San Suu Kyi into power, lending the Rohingya some comfort that treatment would improve. The fighting began when soldiers were attacked at a police checkpoint by a small group of militants. Human Rights Watch released videos of burned villages allegedly committed by government forces. Attacking the Rohingya is a bit of a national pastime, as most Burmese dislike the group, viewing them as illegal immigrants from Bangladesh. Thank God we don't have those kinds of problems here.
And if you missed the mega supermoon last night, tonight is your final opportunity until 2034. While regular supermoons occur roughly every 13 months, Earth's celestial sidekick is snuggled up closer than it's been since 1948. During this time, the moon appears roughly 14% larger and 30% brighter than the average moon. We encourage our viewers to go outside and gawk slack-jawed up at the sky like a misinformed YouTuber on Chemtrail Watch. Just not until after we sign off, of course. For many, this is the last opportunity to see the moon this close. The November 25th, 2034 mega supermoon is expected to be blocked from American view by Emperor Barron Trump's impenetrable border dome. This was Madison Brodsky
And Alex Kack.
for 5 on 20 News. Next up, Ty Besh takes us inside last weekend's All Soul procession.
When we started hosting Face Paint Town here 3 years ago, the marketing director was just looking for volunteers to paint people's faces, and she asked me if I would volunteer. So I've been doing it ever since.
We're from San Diego. We came all the way out here just to check out this procession. So we've heard a lot about it. We've got some family who live here and coming to do it up. It's one of the biggest processions in the country, so you got to see it.
If you're from Tucson, it would totally make sense. The Hotel Congress is the heart and soul of Tucson and of downtown, and we're very immersed in the community, and we like to participate a lot in community events, and so this is just one of the many things that we do here, and it totally makes sense. We're the heart of downtown. The hotel's been here since 1919. We're the beginning of a lot of traditions in Tucson, and so it just makes sense for the hotel to be a part of it.
It's part of Tucson culture that I've never participated in. I grew up on the northwest side, so I never really came down here as a kid, so sort of catching up to all those sorts of traditions. Hispanic heritage is really cool to see and experience. It's been my first time, so.
I'm excited to participate in the procession because I am half Mexican, and All Souls, or Dia de los Muertos, wasn't something we necessarily practiced in my family, so I'm excited to practice that tonight. It's cool because I don't have to go to Mexico to participate in my heritage. I can do it in Arizona. I'm from Phoenix. And it's also exciting because I get to celebrate one of my dead grandparents, so that's cool.
I'm gonna get one side painted, but I want Santa to bring me a toy robot. Yeah, and my mama is going to do her whole face painted. She never done it, but I'm going to do half side painted and this side not painted, just like you.
I just love painting people's faces and talking to them and hearing their stories about the family members or friends that they've lost that they're honoring in the procession tonight. I think that's definitely my favorite part, is just hearing everybody's stories.
We love Tucson, first of all, and really being a part of history. You know, we really feel that being a part of the procession, being a part of this community event it's rare that you're able to be a part of something that's organized yet unorganized, and that is the true excitement that we don't really have an opportunity to experience that often. Tucson has so much to offer, and for us, every time we come here, because we have family here, we're always experiencing something new. And, you know, for us, that's the exciting part.
Me too. You too. Yeah. And I will have a little suitcase to put in. Yeah, that's cool. Yes, that's she already has a suitcase. Yeah, but that Elsa suitcase is for camping. Yeah. And I have gonna get a makeup one to paint my face.
Happy Monday, Tucson, and welcome to Tucson Art Talk on 5 on 20 News. I'm your host, Anais Quintella, and here's what's happening in local art. This Thursday, Dragoon Brewing will be re-releasing their Bicus Brown Ale and celebrating with a bike ride and bike art. The ride starts at Bicus at 5:30 p.m. and will follow a path to Dragoon, where you can preview art that will be up for bid at the Bicus Art Auction in December. $1 from every beer sold at Dragoon that night will be donated to Bicus. And on December 3rd, Cultivate Tucson will be hosting their 2016 Holiday Pop-Up Market from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. For one day only, Cultivate will take over and reimagine an unused space to fill it with a pop-up market and community gathering space where the public can shop local and meet Tucson's independent designers and makers. Tickets can be purchased at cultivatetucson.com. And if you're like me, you're still trying to process the election last week. Tensions are high with protests around the nation still going on. In a minute, we're going to talk politics with my co-host, but first I'd like to highlight some art-related happenings inspired by our new president-elect. I'm not sure what the likelihood of the Donald making America great again is, but his chances of making protest art great again are looking pretty good. UK artist James Auster, who makes what he calls honesty portraits, has made his latest piece about Trump, who he describes as a pile of meat wearing a wig. He calls the piece Emotional Download and says it describes Trump's megalomania. And Houston artist Philip Kremer creates digital collages that remix faces. He said he created this image because he was, quote, tired of seeing his boring face and wanted something fun to look at instead. Another UK artist, Connor Collins, used Trump's own words against him by creating a portrait of America's next president, quote, made using only the racist, sexist, ignorant, and bigoted things he has said. There's also participatory protest art in the form of sticky notes popping up in different cities around the US. The organizers urge people to write about their emotions after last week's election results as a type of collective therapy. As our own form of collective therapy, I'm now going to open the floor to my other two co-hosts, and we're going to make some sticky notes and talk about our feelings. So how are you guys feeling about the election right now?
You want to start with that one?
All you. You got it.
Tired.
Yeah.
I think that might be the collective feeling of the nation, though. Everyone was kind of hoping and looking forward to this thing being over. That's kind of all I heard for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And now that it is, I think everyone wishes it was still going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm writing sick and blue because when I first found out, I literally felt sick to my stomach. I kind of felt like someone I was really close to passed away.
I was actually at a coffee shop when they started calling it, when he started pulling ahead, and people were just crying and holding each other like strangers, and it was really crazy to watch.
Yeah, but then afterwards, I'm gonna write love because here's what I think. No matter if you are a Republican or a Democrat, at the end of the day, we live in a democracy, and we as Americans voted Donald Trump to become our president. So since he was elected and we voted him, it is our turn or our time to accept him as our president and support everything he does, from the good things to the bad things, and we as Americans will make it through because we have made it this far, and I don't think we will go down like, I can't think of a good reference.
Hillary won the popular vote change that opinion at all?
No, I don't think so, because once again, we are part of, we know our laws. We know that we have the electoral vote, and that's how we decide things. It's made decisions in the past between past elections, and this is just another example of it. So it is what it is, and us as Americans have to accept it and support him and hope for the best.
I think if we're, just writing feelings and ideas, I'd write respect. We had a lot of these conversations under George Bush. You don't have to respect the man, right? But you respect the office. And obviously, we're in that situation again because we have a president-elect who doesn't seem to respect anyone. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to respect that man. You don't need to respect the laws that he advocates for or tries to pass. And certainly you don't need to if they're not legal. But there is respect that the presidency itself carries. And I think, we have an opportunity in 4 years to get a different president. And we can reevaluate the damage or success of this, election at that time.
So what are your opinions on the protests that are happening right now?
Well, I think that a lot of people are protesting because of two reasons. One of them being because they think that somehow the protest will over-trump the decision that America made. And, well, I'm not going to say that there's two reasons. There's a few reasons. But at the end of the day, I think that everyone's really emotional right now, whether their party won or lost, and it'll calm down and go away. And then once he gets inaugurated into office, it'll come back up again. And then again, it'll go away. It'll pass. And we just have to remember that there's more than just the president involved in making decisions for our country, because we have the Senate and the House who actually have a little bigger say than just the president. That's why we have our government, so that there's 3 branches and the 3 branches are made equal. So it's not that Trump can make a huge claim that we're all scared of and it's automatically going to become a reality. It has to pass through the Senate. It has to become.
But does
pass
it at all intimidate you that the Senate, the House, the presidency, and then now possibly a lot of the Supreme Court justices will all be conservative?
It does, but I don't think just because they're conservative means that scary change is going to happen. I do know that change is going to happen, good or bad. We will find out, but I don't think something scary will pass, at least not within these 4 years.
What do you think
Maybe if
about
he
the
gets 8 years.
protests and the conservative controlled everything right now?
I mean, hopeful and scared by both. People are angry. People are scared. I think that's really the key thing, is that people have been scared for a while now. I think people who were scared elected Donald Trump. I think people that are scared are protesting Donald Trump. You know, I don't necessarily believe that these people, you know, are holding out hope that they won't have to live in his America necessarily. But I think it's important for them to have this avenue to peacefully, you know, voice their concerns. And of course, we're talking about a Republican-controlled legislature that doesn't necessarily get along with the president-elect.
Right.
You know, even here in Arizona, one of our senators has come out defiantly against him throughout this whole season. I think that the public pressure, the public demonstrations might be the left's one chance to make sure that the damage that they incur, or that the nation incurs from a Donald Trump presidency, is as minor as possible, that maybe this kind of show of popular opinion and force might get him to back off from some of his more extreme positions, or at the very least, prevent members of Congress and the Senate from going along with him.
Yeah, I know that a lot of the protests have been violent and there's been destruction of property and things like that, but I also think it provides a really nice opportunity for community building. And I know a lot of it is to show solidarity with the minority groups that may or may not be targeted, which is good.
They're expressing their use of freedom of speech. And with that being said, I wrote down thankful, because I'm thankful that we live in a country that we are allowed to have that freedom, and we are allowed to even vote for our president. There's so many countries that scary leaders are elected and they have no say in it because they don't have the right to have a say. So I'm thankful that we live in a country like this where we do have these freedoms to express and vote the way that we would like.
And I think you brought up something really important there, that, you know, this does target minority groups a lot. And so for me as a white man to sit here and give my opinions on whether or not people should be protesting seems trivial. I mean, what am I really facing at the end of this? My stock portfolio might go down a little bit. The economy might be uneasy. I'll survive. Unfortunately, other people may not.
Sure. And then my last question is about what you see, how you see the next couple years playing out. Do you think the two parties will be able to come together? Do you think the divide between them has grown too large and too deep? And also, what do you think the community should be doing on like a local level and an individual level?
I think that even though the parties are very split right now and it's affecting friendships and relationships, especially with our social media postings, that we will come together as a country because we're the United States of America. And with that being said, our country has gone through so much heartbreak in the past few years between terrorist attacks and shootings and so much more, that this is the time more than ever that we need to stick together. We need to put our political differences aside. We need to put our religious beliefs aside and come together as a country, because that's what matters in the end. I think a quote that is really important to say right now is something that Lin-Manuel Miranda said during his Tony Award speech, was love, love, love. Because love is the key thing right now in the world, and we all need that love and caring and compassion for each other and for other human beings and beyond human beings, even for animals, like Harambe, for example. Everyone, he is still like a national character right now because he was shot in the zoo. And speaking of that, people actually thought it would be funny, and 14,000 Americans actually wrote in his name for the president.
Votes than people that were actually on the ballot and alive.
Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So what's your prediction for the future?
Americans will always fight with each other, but but they'll always come back. They always come back together. I think that sums up everything I can say on air.
So you think that the two countries, or the two parties, sorry, could come back together? That's your hope?
I absolutely think that there'll be something we have to.
Okay. And this was 5 on 20 News with Ani Esquintela, and we'll see you right here tomorrow at 5.